Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Screen Sanctum. I'm Steve, and today I'm going to give my thoughts about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I just got out of the movie a couple of hours ago, about 2 hours now, and I just wanted to give the first thoughts that came to the top of my head. Now, this isn't a review. I'm not a review channel, and I don't have the merit or the talent to do in-depth movie reviews. So if you're looking for that, probably go somewhere else. These are just thoughts. So overall, what did I think of the movie? And there's going to be no spoilers here because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. So it's just general thoughts. What did I think of Across the Spider-Verse? I really liked it. It was a really good movie. There really were no bad parts to me. The movie starts off a little bit slow because it has to do some introduction. Even though this is the second movie of a trilogy, there's still some things that are new that they need to tell us in like the first, 15 to 20 minutes of the movie. In regards to the entire movie, the first portion, like I said, the first 10, 15 minutes are mostly exposition and then a fight scene. But to me, that was the most boring part of the movie because after that, it's just nonstop. It keeps going and going. There's so much emotion. All the actors are great. The one thing I do want to say, because I see it a lot with every movie, a movie will come out and then there'll be like a good actor or actress in the movie who was in it for like 3.5 minutes, and someone will say they stole the show. Like, no. If you go to see this movie, this is a Spider movie. Everyone is important. Everybody kills it. Miles Morales, Shamik Moore, he is the shit. Like, this is everyone's movie, but this is a Miles Morales movie. He was so good in this movie. That is basically where the fun picked up. Like, once that first part, the first 10 minutes was done and we got to Brooklyn, it was it. Like, I was waiting for Miles Morales, and I think everyone was. Haley Steinfeld is great as Spider-Gwen. She was amazing in every scene. Daniel Kaluuya was Spider-Punk, really good, really funny. Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara, really good. Again, he was funny, but in a deadpan way. There really wasn't any surprises to me with that character. What happened in the movie is basically what I thought was going to happen, but he was great. Jake Johnson as the Spider-Man from the first movie was in it. He was funny. We've seen it in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. He has a daughter, Mayday, and while it's very, very unsafe to bring your daughter swinging around, it's a cartoon, it's animation, it was funny. Like, that was really cute. We had Issa Rae was Spider-Woman. She was very, very good as well. I would have loved to see more of her, but this is part one of a part two, so I'm sure in part two we're going to get a lot of Spider-Woman, probably a lot more Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Gwen, even though they were in the bulk of the middle of the movie. So you did get enough, but I'm sure we're going to get more. There were hundreds of Spider people in the movie, and I wouldn't be able to name them all, but I did see the PlayStation Spider-Man. He was in there. There was like one that looked like that old Spider-Man from, I think, the animated series, and the only way I could describe him is his face kind of looks pointed, like in the middle. Like, it's a weird shaped head. I think it's from the animated series. There was the spider horse. There was a spider dinosaur. Like, there were tons and tons of spider people. It was really cool. Let's see who else. Andy Samberg was Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider. He was pretty cool. He did a good voice. Like, a lot of these actors, you could tell who they are by their voice, but I didn't recognize Andy Samberg. Rachel Dratch, I believe she was the counselor that we see in the trailer when Miles' parents are trying to like get him into college and he's late. I believe she plays that character because it also looks just like her. There was a lot of action. For a multiverse movie, it did have a good amount of multiverse. Like, we got to see a few, but not as much as I think we were hyped to see. Like, remember when we went to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? People got mad because We only really spent time in a couple of multiverses. That's kind of the way it is here. Like, you get to see a few, but you're really only in 3 for the entire movie, and mostly in 2, and which I'm not complaining about because it was done well. But there are parallels to Multiverse of Madness and this movie in one aspect, which is not a complaint. It was great. Like, we're doing multiverses, and as much as we want to see every multiverse, like, you can't do that in a movie. You're not going to be able to be in 30 multiverses for like 10 minutes a piece. Like, you can't do it. You have to give bits and pieces and pick a few. And they did that, and they did it well. There were some twists that I wasn't expecting, but most of the movie hit beats that I was. You know, a lot of people who were allowed to comment after the movie first came out who were saying it's a masterpiece. I mean, to each their own. Like, if you love a movie, I'm not going to tell you to not, but I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. I would call it a very good movie. I personally liked the first one better. I don't know, sometimes you have to wait for 3 movies to come out, watch them all, and then give yourself like a couple of months maybe just to digest it and then pick a favorite. But for me, like, when I'm watching trilogies, usually after the second one, I still for some reason like the first one better. And then, you know, over time, I get a better sense of really what I like better. But as of right now, I did like the first one better. And it has nothing to do with it being a multiverse with way more characters, because that was super fun. I don't know what it is right now. Into the Spider-Verse, as of this second, only 2 hours after I've seen Across the Spider-Verse, is my favorite of the 2, but this one was really, really good. It might be the fact that this one and the third movie, they're not doing it the way they did Infinity War and Endgame, where it was one overarching story, but those were 2 separate movies. This is part 1 of 2, so it's literally the 4-hour, or I don't know, 4.5-hour movie just cut in the middle. And it's fine. Like, we're left on a cliffhanger. It just felt weird. Because when the movie ended, I was like, it's not going to end here, right? But it did. And it's fine. We're going to get another movie next year that's going to finish this story. And I'm sure there's going to be spin-offs with Miles Morales. I guess my prediction is probably somehow some of these characters split into different universes or multiverses, and they have their own journeys. They can't, and I don't want to say why. Once you see it, you will realize why this Spider-Man cannot end up in the MCU, or this Miles cannot. Well, technically they can, but there's a reason why they won't. And I don't want to spoil it. You'll figure it out when you watch it. There was one cameo in particular in the middle of the movie. And again, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but I will say, for me, this was my favorite cameo in any movie. Like, it's not even one that I was thinking of. It's just a character I've been thinking of a lot lately. But when it came to like all the cameos in this movie that could have happened, like Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, J.K. Simmons, anybody who's ever been in a live action Spider-Man movie, like, we've all had theories of, oh, who's going to be in this? And this particular character, I didn't even think of it. But when I saw them, I was so happy. And now my headcanon is, I hope, because I want them in a movie, I've always wanted them, that after the third one, somehow this person somehow bleeds into the MCU or maybe the Sony Spider-Verse. That would be cool. But it was perfect to me, and I can't wait to tweet about it, because I don't think I'm going to do a spoiler review, because the last time I tried that, it was terrible. Like, I'm so bad. The plot was easy to follow, made sense. Where it ended up was supposed to be a huge twist for like a villain, but it wasn't for me. Like, it kind of, I knew it was going to happen. I wouldn't call it a trope, but it's in a lot of movies, what happened. The only other thing I really want to talk about, because I don't want to go too long, I only wanted to keep this within 10 minutes, is the last, I guess, couple of years, I guess since Into the Spider-Verse came out, I've always been grappling with like, what is my favorite comic book movie? What's the best comic book movie? And I keep thinking, and I know my favorite is the first Doctor Strange in general. I just love that movie. It's not the movie I've watched the most, and it's not a movie I consider the best movie. It's just my favorite. And now after watching Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, I have a theory that the best comic book movies have to be animation. And here's why. If you watch an animated movie like Across the Spider-Verse and you watch No Way Home, two similar movies, but not, and then you'll ask the question, which one is better? If you had a gun to my head and said, which you have to pick one now and watch it, I'd pick No Way Home. It doesn't mean I think it's better. I think Across the Spider-Verse is a better movie because it's animated. You could just do so much more in animation, and you could get away with a lot in animation. Like, there are a lot of things in this movie, if you did it in the MCU, people would complain about. There were some plot holes. There were some things that were convenient when they happened. There were some things that just you would not be able to do in a live action. And that's fine. But it's kind of hypocritical for some people because a lot of the things that they pick apart in No Way Home, I saw in this movie. In general, a comic is animated on paper. So what is the best way to like bring that to life is animation, because it's not real. Right? When we're watching Spider-Man No Way Home, we are watching a comic book movie that takes place in the real world. So when we're watching it, it's real, and there are rules that they have to abide by, because we see it as being real. When we're watching Across the Spider-Verse or animated, our mind shifts a little bit, and it's like, this is just fantasy. They can do whatever they want, and I'm not going to care. But you have to realize also in the back of your head, even though this is animated, it's taking place in the real world. So the same rules should apply, but they don't. And it's sort of unfair, but I get it. Because there are things in here, like I said, you just cannot do in live action. And it's not a good thing and it's not a bad thing. It's just, that's the way it is. So on June 1st, 2023, I'm publicly stating to everybody who's watching that, yes, I think the best comic book movies are probably animated. Just because you could do a lot more. You could do more comic book stuff. Like, I can't bring anything up because I'm not going to spoil it, but there's one scene, well, there's many scenes, but there's one that's even in the trailer that I know for a fact, if they did it in real life, people would complain and pick it apart because of logic and science and stuff like that. So if you want to know what part I'm talking about, and I'm not saying I don't like it, I'm just saying I know people would complain about it. You could find me at Twitter, DM me, or just message me, and I'll tell you what part it is. But I think I'm going over the time that I allotted myself for this. So I just want to end it with, if you're a fan of Spider-Man and you're a fan of comic book movies and you're a fan of like anything, the MCU, the Sonyverse, DC, and just movies in general, I think you're going to love this movie. I would be very surprised if anyone comes out of this and says they don't like it, because it was amazing. It was very good. I just wouldn't call it a masterpiece. The animation was great. It could, if you have an aversion to like bright lights and flickering and flashing, it might give you a headache, but it was good. Like, you could tell they tried to one up the previous movie, but I think there were some instances where they just overdid it. And I don't like to say that because these artists are amazing, and it's not like it takes them 2 seconds to do this. They put a lot of time and work into it. But just some of the images or backgrounds on screen, it's another thing that I would say that people would complain about if it was in live action. And that would be something about like, oh, the CGI is terrible. Everyone talks about CGI in live action movies. Well, in animation, the background technically is similar because you have to render it and you want it to look a certain way, but it's animation, so you don't really care. And you see where I'm getting at, where there's kind of like a contradiction of complaints. But overall, I would say this movie was probably, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10 because I give Into the Spider-Verse a 9 out of 10. Me personally, I would never give a movie a 10 out of 10. It's really hard because there's always something that maybe you personally don't like or didn't work for you, but it doesn't ruin the entire movie. But again, you're you, I'm me. I'm sure there are 10 out of 10s for you as well. But that's basically it. Overall, really love the movie. All the actors were great. Miles Morales was the star of this movie. This, to me, is a Miles Morales movie with an extra set of, background characters that also have a lot of screen time. I do not believe anyone outshined Miles Morales. In the next movie, if some people have more time than he does, maybe they're making the next movie a Gwen Stacy more focused movie. I highly doubt it, by the way this one ends. But that's my thoughts. Everyone was great, but Shameik Moore killed it as Miles Morales. I don't even know. I can't even say this because this might be a spoiler. So there's someone I'm looking at on the cast list. You could see it. He's been in another Marvel movie before, and he plays a Spider-Man, and he was awesome, hilarious, amazing. And that is my rambles of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. If you saw it, let me know what you thought of my thoughts, not my review. Let me know what you thought of the movie, because I really want to talk about this with people who have seen it and try not to spoil it for anyone who hasn't. And yeah, if you got this far, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you're on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, or Patreon, especially Patreon, if you want to see some exclusive content and full reactions, check me out there, Screen Sanctum, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, guys.